Yo, what is going on YouTube? It is your boy GZTV back with another video. I see someone just commented on my YouTube video. Okay, sorry, my mic is super far away from my face. We are here to talk about the 13th episode of the 5th season. This is the finale. This is the 65th episode overall for the show. And it's not that I skipped class to do this. I was pretty tired, so I just didn't go to class. So now I have time to do a bunch of stuff today before I head home. Get some homework done maybe. But yeah, we have all due respect. There's a lot of interesting things that happened in this episode. It kind of went down almost as I expected it to, but maybe not. It didn't happen like at the time that I expected to. But yeah, the whole Tony Blundetto thing, I think we kind of knew the fate of him. Like, the episode made it as obvious as possible what was going to happen, what had to happen with Tony B. Obviously, they could have had an insane plot twist, but yeah. So, kind of getting into it. So, AJ plans a party with a friend, and they end up making $300 profit each. And they realize, and, Carmela tells Tony that AJ asked his guidance counselor which colleges would be suitable for studying event planning. So he wants to be an event planner, which is actually a pretty good business. Like, if you start your own like venue company and stuff and you host people, that's actually pretty good money. I don't think like Tony realizes this, and they're like, "Oh, it's gay, isn't it?" It's like, yeah, maybe if you're a mafia guy and you only do illegitimate business, you only run illegitimate businesses, but event planning has a lot of money in it. You can meet a lot of wealthy people, get a lot of connections. So yeah, they find some solace in the fact that the boy is at least fired up about something. I think it's a good thing though. Like, this is a really cool interest to kind of have. So Christopher disposes of Adriana's last remaining possessions, in case like the FBI shows up at their apartment and looks through and asks some questions. The whole story is, hey, she left, she moved out, we broke up, which is kind of insane. It doesn't seem like that good of an alibi considering their wedding is coming up very, very soon. But they just have to roll with it. So Carmela phones looking for her, and Chris says that they broke up and she left town. Obviously, Carmela was super happy for this couple this whole time. She was really good friends with Carmela, made a lot of connections through Christopher, being her boyfriend and all this stuff for all these years. And now that she's gone, it kind of breaks her heart, but she doesn't know the real story. And if she never probably should, because that's super fucked up. It'd probably ruin her relationship with Tony again. And yeah. So, Tony asks Chris whether he said anything to Adriana about Matthew Bevilacqua or Ralph Silveretto that she could have repeated to the FBI. And Chris says he did not and assures Tony that he is staying sober and exercising, and he's trying to change for the better. He's trying to redeem himself, make it up to him for all this stuff. And he never really talked about business except for like that cigarette thing, which wasn't really that big of a deal. It was a really small business. It was pretty legitimate too. Like, they were actually like supplying cigarettes to like the Esplanade and all this stuff. So, or the Esplanade was like the construction thing. What's going on, Chippy? Uh, but Phil reclaims his brother Billy's body from the morgue and demands that Johnny retaliate against the New Jersey family. They realize what they kind of have to do this at this point. Like, you don't kill. I mean, yeah, Billy wasn't like a made man or anything yet, but you kind of have to take care of this stuff. Like, that's kind of a part of being in a crime family. So Ray Curto, who continues to provide evidence or information to the FBI, unaware that Adriana has been killed for being an informant, has a birthday dinner. Doesn't seem like a very appropriate time, but again, he was extremely clueless on this whole thing. So, yeah, and again, he's an informant for the FBI, so if they figure that out, it's gonna be his head. Off with his head. We know this. This is very custom for the mafia. So those present are re-stive at Tony's continued protection of his cousin Tony B. With Phil seeking revenge, they are all in danger to an extent. They could all get hit with something. So yeah, everyone kind of has to watch their backs. It's a war pretty much between New Jersey and New York, and Tony's going to kind of attempt to defuse it later on, which I guess he was kind of successful in. So Tony delivers a speech explaining that he is saving Tony B from torture and stressing that they must unite as a family. We gotta come together here. We gotta make sure that no one gets hurt, protect each other, all that stuff. So yeah, he's saving him. He's going to do it himself. he's going to kill him himself. So Phil tries to track down Chris as an alternative target of his revenge, noting his closeness to Tony. And everyone around the mafia and stuff are kind of and around the New Jersey family are kind of discussing, well, they could go after Chrissy, or Chris, whatever you want to call him, which is literally what he does. After he threatens Chris's mother, Chris goes into hiding with the help of Benny. They realize they gotta get the hell out of there because now Phil's a threat to him. Phil finds Benny and beats him up, fracturing his skull because, well, he kind of helped him go into hiding. Tony goes to Junior for advice, but he cannot help with his dementia worsening. He can't give subtle he can't give sufficient advice because his medical condition has made him forget about everything and not be able to form real sentences and not be able to focus on any sort of things. So it's kind of sad, but that's the sad reality for Junior probably for the rest of his life. So at a consultation, Dr. Melfi reminds Tony that his concern for Tony B comes primarily from his feelings of guilt, not being able to go out on that robbery that night, and all that stuff. So Silvio tells Tony of the growing discontent within the family and asserts he is shielding Tony B out of pride, which Tony angrily rejects. That's why the episode's called All Due Respect. That's Silvio's kind of famous line. All due respect, You're kind of doing this out of pride, and there's a sin to that, and Tony's fucking pissed about it because he's almost questioning his authority, and Tony does not like that whatsoever. So Tony visits Paulie, having heard he is among those dissatisfied with his leadership, and Paulie has kind of had problems within the family ever since Tony kind of took over as boss, so this is really nothing new. This is nothing really surprising. So in Paulie's living room, he discovers the portrait of himself with his horse Pyomai, which he had wanted to be destroyed after the horse's death. And he's just now finding out that Paulie salvaged it and now is using it as a mantelpiece, which is fucking weird. It was weird from the start. I don't remember what episode this happened in, but it's been weird ever since that he did that. So unbeknownst to him, Paulie had kept the painting and had it altered, changing Tony's clothes to those of a colonel general. I don't know how people pronounce that, but when Tony demands to know why he had him painted as a lawn jockey, Paulie says that he did it out of sincere admiration for Tony as a leader, even though he has heard through the grapevine that Paulie is not satisfied. He's not happy with the things that Tony is doing, the decisions he's making. He's not really a fan of it. So Tony pauses, but then rips the painting off the wall and puts it in a dumpster, much to Paulie's discontent. Paulie doesn't like this. I don't know why I don't remember his motivation for putting the painting on the wall. I think it was a weird, ego thing towards Tony. And this was, when he put it on the wall, this was a period of time where he did not like Tony again. So it's kind of crazy how that kind of loops back around. So Tony B is hiding out at Uncle Pat's vacated farmhouse in Kinderhook, New York. There's no furniture in there, no nothing. They moved everything out, sold it all, I'm pretty sure. So as he is returning with groceries, Tony appears around a corner with a pump-action shotgun and kills him. Completely out of nowhere. This was super surprising. Again, we know that Tony was probably going to end up doing it to kind of ruffle some feathers with Johnny, but also take Tony B out of his misery. But we knew it was going to happen eventually, and you could have kind of assumed that it was going to happen, at the end of the season. So Tony then tells Phil and Johnny where Tony B can be found. So Phil arrives expecting to exact his revenge, but only finds the body. It's obviously very annoying to them because they wanted to do the job themselves. They wanted to do it their way. Johnny tells Tony that Tony B's death didn't solve anything, and they're gonna have to get revenge in some sort of fashion because doing the job for them is not what they wanted. Obviously, they wanted to, which is kind of fucked up if you think about it. As long as Tony B's dealt with, I don't know why they made such a big deal out of it. But Tony meets Johnny at his New Jersey home and offers a percentage of Tony B's Bloomfield Avenue casino as a peace offering to Phil, almost putting it in the will, almost inheriting some Tony B's wealth, I guess, which is a weird way of trying to make a negotiation. But At the moment the feud is settled, Tony looks over Johnny's shoulder and sees armed men approaching. It's not over yet. You think the action is done? No. The FBI pulls up out of the bushes, so they both run away. Yeah, it is the FBI who arrests Johnny. And later on it is found out that Johnny's the only one that the FBI wanted. He wanted that crime family because of, I don't remember what they caught them for. I guess Ray Curto kind of snitched them out mainly. He didn't really snitch out the New Jersey family, which is funny because at the whole time, unintentionally, Tony was kind of had Ray Curto as a pawn in this whole thing. So Tony throws his handgun into the snow and navigates the neighborhood to avoid the feds. A few hours later, he calls his lawyer Neil Mink, who informs him that Johnny was betrayed by Jimmy Petriel. Oh yeah, it was Jimmy, my bad, I forgot. His consigliere. Tony was not mentioned in the indictment. He arrives home disheveled and worn out. He's all ripped up, he's got scratches on his face, his tux is ruined, all that stuff. So yeah, obviously it's a big deal that Tony Blundetto died. He was shot and killed by Tony Soprano in order to make peace with the Lupertazzi crime family and to save Tony B from a more painful death at the hands of Phil Leotardo. So yeah, that's obviously huge. We could talk about a couple of things. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see the fallout of that death. And, the tension's going to continue to rise. This is a perfect time to kind of have this drama escalate going into the final season of the show. Sad to say that, but yeah, we are heading into the final season of the show. I think I'm going to watch the premiere of Season 6 tonight. I don't know what kind of videos are going to be lined up for the weekend. It's going to be kind of confusing because I don't really have that much time to make videos tonight because I'm going to be watching college basketball. I'm going to be working on some homework. I still have to take the 2.5-hour drive home from college, so we'll see. Whatever you see on the channel, it is. I'm kind of going to be improvising content for the weekend. No new music or anything. So there's that.